My name's Campbell, and I was raised in a Christian home. I was raised going to church, and I was brought up in an environment that assumed a belief in God, a belief in Jesus. I found as I grew up that I began to see that this worldview that I was brought up in, this ideology, this environment that I was surrounded with, it actually seemed to me like it was really oppressive. It become really insular on my life. It seemed like a bubble that I was trapped in that I could never escape. And so I guess I longed, sort of in my mid-teens, to get out of that, to discover a little bit about who I actually was, to decide what I believed for myself, not what I had been told that I should believe. And so I was given the opportunity in the year that I should have been studying my final year of high school to instead go overseas to the Netherlands and study abroad there and get completely out to escape from this environment which I had deemed completely oppressive. And I arrived in the Netherlands, and I found that away from the Christians who I'd grown up around, I had no reason to believe in God. I could really do this on my own, I guess. I began to feel really isolated and lonely, and I needed to prove myself, I guess, to the people around me. I needed to pretend like I was self-confident, that I was the master of my own life, that I had it down pat when I really didn't. And I began to, in my relationships, become pretty destructive. I sort of started to subconsciously treat myself as the center. I didn't really see a point, I guess, in acknowledging how another person might feel, how I could be damaging someone else's life. Because the way I saw it, in our friendships, all we're really there to do is to gratify each other, to make each other feel valued and satisfied, and then we can kind of move on. There's no real need to engage on a deeper level, is kind of what I thought. And eventually I was forced to return to Australia, to sort of my old life, to this life I had totally left behind. And I was suddenly confronted with all these people who still believed in God, who hadn't moved on, who hadn't become better in the same way that I believed I had. And I was asked by some of my old friends if I wanted to meet up one evening and talk about the Bible, to read about Jesus together and to talk about how he felt. And that was an idea that terrified me, that made me really uncomfortable, because I had decided that I didn't need that anymore, that I was better than that. And the idea of being judged, of not being accepted by these people, I really hated that. So I guess I didn't hate these Christians, but I hated the idea of being a Christian myself. And so when I showed up to this Bible study, I was prepared to utterly dislike it, to be ready to get out of there as soon as possible. But what I discovered reading about Jesus is that this was a man who was more than happy to meet me in my brokenness, in my darkest moments, and when I was really lonely and isolated, when I was a total hypocrite, when I was a completely shattered human being. And I discovered that the Bible actually tells a really compelling story, one which I believe is true, one in which the Son of God loved us enough to manifest himself in the flesh and to love us and serve us, to become someone who gave him his all, to improve our lives. And he culminated that in his death, in which he took the punishment which I see myself as completely deserving in the way that I constantly fail. And he took that punishment upon himself. He let it destroy him. He let it kill him so that I could live. And I'd really encourage you to do yourself a huge favor, to just look at this sincerely, to just examine this story for what it is, for historical fact, to not brush over this as being something which is religious and not for you, but to really engage with this Jesus guy for what he is. And that is a God who loves you enough to have died for you and to have forgiven you so that you could have a relationship with him. And if you'd like to find out more, please just keep watching or click below. We'd love to go on this journey with you to help you discover what it is really honestly like to follow Jesus.